Welcome to the Father and Son Formula One podcast. I am the father in the title, Graham Miller, also writer of books under Graham H. Miller, and Toby is here.
Hello. I'm the son.
And Toby is my son.
Yes.
And really for years, I always used to watch Formula One and Toby would watch it with me, and I'm going to say it's all my fault that he's got dragged in, but I also probably have to say in terms of the stats, you've probably overtaken me in terms of your
you got me started. You got me started, and then I ran away.
Yeah. And now, mainly to stop us annoying, well, my wife and your mum, by talking about it on family phone calls, we've split it off into our own podcast, which I think is quite good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the latest race, although it seems a long time ago, was China.
Yes.
I actually quite liked it as a race because it was kind of like that one where they resurfaced Turkey a few years ago.
Yeah.
We hadn't been there in 5 years. They repainted the track, which changed the grip levels.
Yeah.
They'd had rain as well.
And they hadn't been there with the new regulations, so there was just no data at all with like ground effect or anything like that.
Or the 18-inch wheels, or
certain drivers as well, like Piastri. Obviously, Zhou had never raced there, so that was awesome for him to have like a home race.
Oh, it was lovely to see, actually.
It was actually the first ever Chinese person to have a home race, which is cool.
Yeah. And also that they only gave them 1 hour of practice, which kind of almost seems mean in a way, given how much there was to learn about the circuit.
It was a perfect storm, really. Especially
well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the rain for sprint qualifying, it was like, honestly, anyone's guess.
Although, I mean, we're still scratching our heads over how... I mean, Lando Norris, they always say that if you go out in the rain, it's a great leveller. It's about how well you can control the car, because none of the 20 cars, whether they're a Red Bull or an Alpine, can put all the power down all the time.
No.
So it's down to how well the driver can drive and the car control they have.
Yeah.
And somehow Norris ended up 1.3 seconds ahead of an incredible lineup of Hamilton, Verstappen and Alonso, who, let's face it, no matter what your politics and whether or not you like them, and I know they're quite divisive figures, all three of them, they're probably the technically best drivers on the grid, those three.
Yeah, I would say. I don't think that's particularly controversial to say. Like, I mean, obviously, everyone will argue over whether it's Hamilton or Alonso or Verstappen, but they're the only
you wouldn't
three.
really want to put them in order without starting a flame war.
No, although the order is Hamilton, then Alonso, then Verstappen, just saying.
I think it was
on track.
Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso on the day, wasn't it?
I've got the results up, and I can see as well. So, Norris was 1.3 ahead of Hamilton. Hamilton was 7/10 up on Alonso, who was pretty much level with Verstappen, and they were only 2/10 ahead of Sainz.
Yeah.
So Sainz he's sort of the best of the rest, actually, because he was better than Perez and Leclerc and Piastri. But he's not quite that level.
Also, it's quite interesting. It's the first time I can remember that a lap time was deleted for track and limit infringements and then reinstated on appeal.
Yeah, especially not for like pole. I don't remember that happening, because really that rule, it makes much more sense if you think about that rule in the context of Monza. Because they're saying
a dry race. Yeah,
if you go off the track and gain an advantage, your next lap should be deleted, because in Monza, the parabolica, people would always go way off, like all four wheels out, and then they could carry more speed down the straight into the next lap. So that's why they introduced it.
It's only if your track limit violation occurs on the final corner, then your time for the next lap will be deleted, because it's argued that you've gained speed going through that corner to carry on to the straight. And apparently, and would have loved to have been in the room, McLaren's engineers said literally this to the stewards: Norris went through the gravel. You don't gain time driving through the gravel.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, is he didn't gain any advantage. It was wet as well. So he probably wasn't getting the full power down like you would in Monza, where a wider line gains time. It doesn't if there's gravel there. So, I mean, it's the right decision as well.
Yeah, I mean, of all the stewards' decisions, and I know Alonso's been absolutely fuming. I think they're holding him a bit more to account. He always has been a bit
he's always done
creative
stuff
as a driver.
I mean, the 11-second pit stop in Hungary, for example.
Yeah,
like years ago. He's always done that sort of thing.
Wasn't it Hamilton who did that to Alonso, or was it the other way around?
If I remember, I think they both did it to each other, one after the other. I think Hamilton did it to Alonso first. Maybe not quite as blatant, but I think he sort of held him up so that Alonso missed the flag. And then Alonso made a point of doing it in the next race to say, actually, we can both do that. So,
oh God, yes. I don't think there were... Well, I was going to say there weren't any big surprises in qualifying apart from Lewis Hamilton. And actually, I mean, my Facebook feed... Facebook is trying to be like TikTok and suggest things, and I get the most kind of clickbaity, trashy kind of Formula One sites. But a lot of people have been weighing in and saying, yes, Mercedes have lost their way. But Hamilton came second in the sprint, pretty much on merit. Obviously, nobody on the grid can hold off Verstappen in that car this year.
Yeah.
And then for some mysterious reason, he made epic and huge changes to the setup where you're kind of thinking, that's the best you've been all year, why? And a lot of people, like quite experienced drivers, are saying things like, it's just excuses. He stuffed up that only flying lap. They only did one flying lap because they wanted to preserve enough soft tyres for the race.
Yeah.
So, I mean, their tyre strategy was probably questionable, but he stuffed up and just braked in the wrong place, which probably means they don't understand the car, I've also read. It probably means that they just don't get where the grip is and where it's not. Because it's not a typical kind of Hamilton mistake.
I'm looking at the qualifying and the sprint qualifying. The fastest time in Q1, SQ1, when it was dry, was a 1:36.3. And Hamilton did a 1:35.5 in qualifying, proper qualifying. So he actually was like a second up on the fastest of sprint qualifying, and then just was still out in Q1 because like even Sargent was faster than Norris was in Q1, SQ1.
So everybody around him made much bigger kind of...
I think the track evolved too much.
Yeah. But it still seemed a very odd decision to send him out and preserve tyres if they couldn't even get him out of Q1.
Yeah, I think Mercedes are not doing super well.
A lot of people are saying it's a lack of, I think, Niki Lauda. His kind of strategy brain is not there anymore, and they haven't found a suitable replacement.
They haven't got... Yeah, they need that sort of expert leader. Kind of like, I think, Red Bull also, Dietrich Mateschitz died recently, and now look what's happening there.
Yeah, and actually, why do on in the sport? My brain has gone to mush. Oh God, what was his name? He used to be like the race.
Charlie Whiting, that
was it. I was thinking Steve Watkins, but he's the doctor. After Charlie Whiting died, it did kind of go downhill a bit as well in terms of race control. So,
well, yeah, because then I think that kind of culminated with Abu Dhabi 2021.
Yeah, it seems to have settled out a bit now. The decisions seem to be a lot better made.
Yeah, but it's still kind of like a council. And also, I think, Charlie Whiting wasn't the stewards, he was the race director.
Yeah.
But he's...
Well, apparently...
Yeah.
Apparently Johnny Herbert's been getting death threats from Alonso fans because he was on the stewards panel that gave him a penalty over pushing Russell in a couple of races ago.
Yeah, I think it's because Herbert's British, and they're making that sort of like, oh, Russell's British connection. And also, obviously, everyone in Britain hates Alonso because of Hamilton, so...
Yeah. Anyway, apart from the 18th place, the qualifying was fairly straightforward. I think Zhou was really buoyed up by the fans, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, what did he... He got into Q... Wait, no, that's sprint. He got 16th in the qualifying. I think he only ended up 15th in the race because the Sauber's not super great.
Yeah.
Although Bottas did quite a good job as well.
Yeah.
Although at this point, it kind of seems like one or both of them might be out of a job next year.
Yes. I mean, I've heard. Well, one of them is out of a job.
Well, one of them's out of Sauber for sure.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I'm quite pleased because I said that I read somewhere, and for some reason, it completely makes sense that when Audi take over in 2026, they want Sainz to lead the team and Hulkenberg to be the kind of wingman, as it were. And now Hulkenberg's in place already.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to grab Sainz as well, or whether it'd be a bit of a step back from Ferrari down to the Sauber.
Yeah, but it might be an opportunity to lead them to the top. Because Audi, the big advantage they have is, unlike most other Sauber sponsors, are they actually like a top level manufacturer, Audi, like one of the big ones, like
They are
properly
absolutely
huge.
Well, they're huge because the actual name is Volkswagen Audi Group.
Audi is a subsidiary of the Volkswagen Group, it says.
So the Volkswagen Group own the brands Volkswagen, Audi, Seat, Skoda, Lamborghini, one of Bentley and Rolls-Royce.
I'm looking. They've got Audi Cupra, which I've seen a few of.
That's
Porsche,
a Seat spin-off.
Porsche, Ducati.
Wow.
Yeah, Seat, Skoda, Volkswagen, obviously. Some stuff I've not heard of. Scania and MAN, I think that's lorries.
Yeah.
And Lamborghini. I would like to see Lamborghini F1, actually. I think that'd be more fun.
Which one of Bentley and Rolls-Royce did they end up?
Doesn't say either of them.
I'm sure they own one of them.
Oh, no, Bentley's. It's Bentley.
Okay.
Actually, they had both of them, but Rolls-Royce got yoinked by BMW, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Because, that's massively complicated. Anyway, Audi is huge. They have a big budget.
Yeah. And you've got to remember that before 2005, Jaguar were a mid-level team.
Yeah.
And they got bought by a new startup called Red Bull. And now look where they are.
Yeah.
And it was actually not long from there to the complete dominance of the Vettel years, so it could be worth Sainz, getting his feet under the table.
I mean, yeah, definitely, because Webber was the first driver to go for Red Bull racing.
Yeah.
I think. So, and he ended up being there when they got properly dominant. It didn't really work out for him, but
Yeah, no, it was definitely worth doing. Right, yes, we said we're both a bit tired today, so it's going to be quite a rambly one.
Yes.
The actual race itself, again, unfortunately, I saw somebody, I think it was a bit of paper, but you might as well get a bit of masking tape and stick it on your TV where Verstappen's name is at the top.
Yeah, make it more fun.
It makes it a lot more fun.
I think he might have... Did he pit a few times and we had someone else lead for a bit, though?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite chaotic with the double safety cars and Lance Stroll being horribly unfair. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can't do it with a straight face. Being penalised for looking at the
corner when there was a car.
Looking at the apex of the corner and drove into the back of poor Daniel Ricciardo and actually ruined his race.
Yeah, because they were up in the points. I think Ricciardo was even 7th.
Yeah, because when it happened, the people in front of Ricciardo, if they've done a proper motorway style concertina, it would have actually properly changed the midfield battle.
Yeah, but Ricciardo was very unhappy with it because he retired with floor damage. And it's really the first race he's had all year that he's been better than Tsunoda.
Yeah, Piastri was in front of Ricciardo, and I think he got damaged.
Yeah, he got Ricciardo pushed into Piastri's floor, and so he got damaged, but he kept on to go to 8th, which was the best he could manage.
Yeah, but it really was.
And then
I think I've been thinking about this race, and I think the combination, and I've read a few things, the combination of the sprint qualifying and the race have cemented something in my mind. We're talking about a whole kind of new generation of drivers. You've got Russell, you've got Piastri, you've got Norris, Leclerc, all kind of an age.
Yeah.
And I think at the weekend in China, and I hope I'm going to be proved right, Lando Norris actually stepped up a whole level.
Yeah.
Not only was there that outstanding qualifying lap in the rain, which is always a good... You look at all the greats like your Schumachers and your Hamiltons, it's the wet weather performance.
Like Senna in Britain in 90-something.
Or in Monaco when they ended the race to stop him catching Prost.
Yeah, he did that in a Tolman, by the way.
Yeah.
That wasn't like a McLaren or a Williams.
But then after that, the final stint of the race, it was not only speed that he kept Perez, because he kept Perez behind him after all the safety cars. But I've read articles where they said actually it was his technical ability at nursing the tyres, deciding to limit the number of pit stops when he had to come in by not kind of coming in and just burning through his tyres and coming in again. So it wasn't just that, he can do a blisteringly fast qualifying lap. It was the combination of maturity and racecraft and realising if he did less pit stops and he used the safety car to his advantage and he could end the race on fresher tyres and then use those tyres to his advantage. So I think coming second by holding Perez in arguably the best car, well, not arguably, in unquestionably the best car in the grid behind him, is actually one of those standout.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he was 13 seconds behind Verstappen, but he was another 6 seconds ahead.
And 13's not a huge margin. It's not like we've seen. I mean, maybe it's safety cars, but you know.
So Norris was just like impressive. And impressive not just in look, he's one of the new fast drivers, he's got all the technical skills.
Racecraft, because that's
the word.
What he missed when he missed his win in Russia a few years ago was he didn't make the right choice on pit stops, and he didn't have that sort of rain car control to keep it on to win.
And in a sense, he's still got a bit of developing to do, because he could have won. Well, he could have been the one that Verstappen overtook to win the sprint, but he just got into a corner with Hamilton and couldn't quite live with him.
Yeah, that was a bit. That was like a racing incident. I think. I don't think that was Hamilton forcing him off or anything. I think it was just unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Even then, he came back to 6th, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
And I think he's actually... Yeah, he's on 58 points in the standings. He's 20 points ahead of his teammate already. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and everyone's always saying how good Piastri is. He's not had a super great year this year, I think.
No, I think Piastri is definitely, like I've said before, worth the hype, if nothing else. I mean, you get so many of these people who come in and they're hyped and then they're just like nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Piastri, he won Formula 3 and Formula 2 in his first season of both, like consecutively.
Yeah.
So he is properly good. But then, Mick Schumacher won F2 as well.
Yeah, it doesn't always translate up to the F1 stage, does it?
I kind of think Mick Schumacher was actually quite good. I don't really know why he's not got a seat anymore.
He was in Haas. I don't think he just impressed that much, did he?
Well, he did crash a little bit. I think that when you're in Haas with a limited budget, that's not really what you want.
And to be honest, there are so many drivers at the lower end of Formula 1 and the upper end of Formula 2. I think it's an unbelievably competitive environment.
Yeah, it's like the most competitive in the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean...
you've got people like, fortunately, Stroll and Sargent, where people are kind of scratching their heads and going, why are they here exactly? Well, we know why in Stroll's case, but...
I think they're especially scratching their heads with Stroll now, though, and thinking he's not even, paying attention to the road anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's going to probably damage him because it will be. That's almost that is an issue of driver safety, and it's affecting other drivers' races. So we might see some movement on that if he's not actually safe.
I mean, if he gets a ban, 1 race ban, Aston Martin are going to have to get someone else in.
Oh, have you heard?
What?
Logan Sargent and Sergio Perez are top of the table.
Oh, on driver license points.
Yeah, they've both got 8 points.
How's Perez got 8 points?
I don't know. The even more entertaining news is, guess when those points roll off?
When?
September.
Oh man, that's actually quite a long way away.
That's a lot of races to not pick up 4 extra points.
Where's Perez?
Somehow, and I'm still baffling about this, Stroll only picked up 2 points for wiping out Ricciardo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be a 3 or a 4, surely.
That's less than what Alonso got for brake testing Russell. When arguably, I think Alonso deserved them. I also think Stroll deserved more.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the same thing, it's just a different intention.
They're both erratic driving that ended another driver's race.
Yeah. But it was definitely Stroll being careless.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think ultimately, if they get a driver in to replace Stroll for a race, a substitute, and he's actually much better and he's keeping with what's-his-face Alonso, they kind of have to think, why have we still got him?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of... Well, they've still got him because Dad's paying the bills, basically, but you kind of have to wonder, all the backup drivers for Formula 1 2024.
Wait, let me see. I think it's... For Aston Martin, I think it's Drogovic.
Felipe Drugovich and our favourite Stoffel Van Dorn.
Oh, he's still knocking around.
Yeah.
He's another one who was kind of very hyped up when he came up through and then never really... Well, he got washed by Alonso, which is pretty much what's happening to Stroll now.
Yeah, that's what Alonso does.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the ever-changing gossipy section of the...
Yeah, I think we're sort of leading onto it quite naturally, so yeah.
So, officially Adrian Newey is leaving Red Bull. That has been the worst-kept secret for about 3 days now.
Yeah, it was actually even reported by BBC News, who tend to be pretty stringent on not actually reporting just rumours, but
Yeah.
They need high-level sources and stuff. And they reported it, and then that was 6 days ago, and now it's been confirmed by Red Bull officially.
I mean, I can actually genuinely see a place where he's got a non-competition deal and he won't be allowed to go to another Formula 1 team. I think I've heard 3 years mentioned, which means he'll be 68.
So, I'm looking. So he also revealed that his departure has been handled by former F1 team boss Eddie Jordan.
Yeah.
Who has apparently succeeded in pulling off a major coup in extricating the designer from a contract that included a 12-month non-compete clause, which should have meant he was not available to any other team until 2027, because it was still the end of 2025.
Yep.
But they've actually got him out of the contract, so theoretically, he should be able to start whenever. I think maybe at the end of 2024.
You see, on the one hand, I've heard that he only works 2 days a week. Again, this is like the clickbaity, horrible sites I've read. And he's getting old, and he's never wanted to work for Ferrari because he likes being in England too much. But on the other hand, I think the romantic idea of designing a car for Hamilton, who is at the moment the best in terms of most stats. I know Verstappen is getting there, but he's a way off yet in more numbers of wins, etc.
Yeah.
And designing a car for Ferrari. I think it's quite a lot of kind of romance around the idea. And if he's able to fly out to Italy once a month, maybe, the internet. He started at Red Bull in 2004, 2005. The idea of just hooking up to the internet and remote working
didn't exist back then. Yeah,
I think it did. I mean,
but it wouldn't have been how you worked, would it? Really, full time. Especially since post-COVID, hybrid working is now a thing, isn't it?
Well, I remember in 2018 or 2019. Well, I was going to say Ellie, my wife, your mum, complaining at work they had this brand new thing called Zoom, and everybody had to use it for dialing into meetings, and it was a nightmare.
Wow.
So she was actually into Zoom before COVID, and then obviously 2020 hit, and everybody was like happening over Zoom. So,
but she was already used to it then.
I'd already disliked it, but that's another story.
Yeah, she was sort of vindicated, like I told you.
Yeah. So yes, we know Newey's leaving Red Bull.
Yeah.
We know Hulkenberg going to Sauber.
Yes. Apart from that, nothing else is officially confirmed.
I've heard rumours that Logan Sargent probably won't be on the grid at all next year. But again,
that's not really a secret almost, is it? I mean, it's...
if you're going to make any predictions, it's kind of the easiest one to make.
Yeah, in terms of the grid.
You know, there's going to be an awful lot of change. Toto Wolff wants either Max Verstappen or Antonelli.
Yeah. I think Schumacher, Mick, obviously, might be Mercedes reserve as well. Yeah, and McLaren is Mick Schumacher. So he...
Oh, right, so he's still kind of around the scene, as it were.
And I think, he's got experience in F1 cars, so he wouldn't be an awful idea. Or Albon, because he's Williams, and Albon's not Red Bull anymore. I don't think he's, completely separated.
I think he's ended all his contracts.
I think so, yeah. And crucially, Schumacher's driven the new cars with the new regs.
But there is going to be an awful lot of change and upheaval. It's kind of weird because we went into 2024 with exactly the same grid as we ended 23 with.
Yeah. And
then over half the grid are out of contract at the end of this year, so the 2025 grid is going to look massively different.
I mean, we before even the first race had a massive change with Hamilton.
Yeah,
which
Hamilton
is immediately
and Leclerc are going to be at Ferrari.
Which immediately is like someone needs to go to Mercedes and someone, Sainz needs to go somewhere. And it doesn't look super likely that Sainz is going to go to Mercedes, so he's going to push someone else out.
Hulkenberg is going to go to Sauber.
Yeah. Which means...
actually leaves us...
Yeah, they need a seat at Haas filled.
Well, Behrman's the obvious choice.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Which, again, Ferrari affiliated. Haas have always been a bit of a Ferrari B team.
Yeah.
And he's
actually
good.
He's as good as he appeared when he subbed in for Sainz.
Yeah.
Give him a whole season to kind of prove his worth, as it were. That makes a lot of sense.
Although I will say, I think we've noticed drivers subbing in for one race being really good and then not being as good afterwards. Because we had Nick de Vries in Williams in Monza, came ninth. And everyone was like, wow, he's amazing. He got a drive with RB, or Toro, whatever they were, Toro Rosso. And then he was a bit rubbish. And then the same years ago happened with Van Dorn. Because I
was going to say, Van Dorn is exactly the same.
He came 10th in a McLaren in 2017, back when McLaren were properly rubbish, and 10th was amazing. And then he got a full-time drive, and he got annihilated by Alonso. So maybe if I was... And yet, whenever, Lawson or Behrman comes in and gets points in a slightly naff car, everyone's like, wow, he must be a really good driver. It's like, what is it about a one-off appearance that actually kind of masks long-term ailments, I wonder?
Well, I suppose it's a one-off appearance. It's almost like there's zero expectation on you. You don't have to try too hard. And also you don't have to do all the other stuff like the media promotion, the feeding back to the engineers, the working with a whole team. The stuff we don't really see, I mean, a lot of the people who actually work for the teams, like the 200 or 300 people, talk about, pick an example like Hamilton, about how often he'll be down the factory, how he'll call whole team meetings, how he'll motivate everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's an awful lot more to it than just turning up on a Sunday afternoon,
Well, it's like
putting your overalls on and getting in the car.
Well, it's like a full-time job. Just
Well, yeah.
Even even though they're only racing every other weekend or so, they're working all the time. But when you're a Formula 2 driver just jumping in, it's like you just drive.
And maybe that's what trips them up, and maybe Behrman will be different. Maybe he'll just get in and he'll be at least a workable driver, you know.
He has been. I mean, I had heard of him when I was watching F2, I think last year or the year before. Like, he's not super anonymous or anything. Oh my god, he was born in 2005. That's ridiculous.
Who else is in Haas with him?
Magnussen.
I mean, he should get on all right with Magnussen, to be honest.
But I don't know if Magnussen's still got a contract for next year, even. So Haas could do another total shake-up.
Yeah. Actually, he's outscoring both Magnussen and Hulkenberg so far, Behrman.
But yeah, because he was in a Ferrari. It's not really fair, is it?
No, I know, it's just funny.
Yeah. Yeah. But Hulkenberg is doing better than Magnussen at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, but they're so low down. What do you think of this plan to move it out to points for the first 12 so that you've got more differentiation in the lower orders?
I think it wasn't. I think it's weird because, like, back in, say, 2017, 2018, the top 3 teams were Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes. And that was like the top 6 positions. And there was always enough changing in the so-called midfield that points were always available for, like, I don't know, a Renault or a McLaren or a Toro Rosso. And it was enough that it kept it viable for teams to score lots of points, even if they were, not the top. Yeah. But now, Red Bull have taken the top spot, and the midfield is comprised of like 4 teams, so there's only really 2 spots in each race.
Well, it's like we say for qualifying, isn't it? If qualifying is normal, 2 slots go each to Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, hopefully Mercedes, and 1 spot to Alonso.
That's 9 drivers.
And then you're kind of like, well, who's going to get the last spot? And in a way, that kind of applies to points as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the race result, Red Bull, McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Alonso, McLaren, Mercedes, Hulkenberg in 10th. He was the lucky one today. And Gasly, Ocon was in 11th, Albon was in 12th. So I think it makes sense now, because if you went down to 12th, Ocon and Albon would get points. And that kind of makes sense because they were actually quite good. And they kind of, just because they were 11th. And
it would kind of make a bit more sense of the fact that if you look at the chart that, like, from 15th downwards, they're all on 0, but they've all been given a ranking.
Yeah, based on
15th down to 21st is all 0 points, 0 wins.
And it's based on Albon. It's based on how they've finished in certain races. It's countback, which is kind of what points is anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's.
And it's one of those things that's always changed. It used to be something like top 5 or top 6, didn't it?
It was top 6, and the winner got 8 points. So, like, in a single day, in a whole season, they would score like 35 points or something. And now, like, Verstappen could score that in one weekend if there was a sprint.
Yeah.
Actually, if I don't know why I keep saying Alonso for Verstappen, it's like a Freudian slip. If Verstappen got a win and a fastest lap and a sprint win, which is 26 plus 8, he'd have 2 more points than Farina did for the whole season in his first championship.
That is. But then, it's like I say, it's one of those things that has always changed, and in some ways it makes it a bit harder unless you do the maths to compare, is Verstappen better than Farina kind of questions. But I think in other ways, it's just the nature of it. It does change.
I think also, ultimately, if it was if you want the points to be an actual metric of how well every driver has done, then yes, you want it. That's what it should be. It should be points all the way down to the bottom, but there haven't been points all the way down to the bottom, for years. And I think it is a very reactionary thing, because it's just the way this particular season is shaped means that it seems very attractive, because again, the top 8 is basically all the same drivers. That's not really kind of a problem of the sport. It's just the current setup.
It is quite a weird kind of shape to it. I
think, next year or 2026, it could be completely different.
Looking at 1950 Formula One Championship.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure why one place is in brackets, but one Max Verstappen good weekend of 26 points would put him in 3rd or 4th.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I don't know quite why they've got the Italian Grand Prix 3rd place in brackets.
It's because it's back then. Only the best 4 results counted. So if it's in brackets, it doesn't count.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're looking at Louis Rosier. I've got the same place up. Or
no, I was looking at Luigi Fagioli.
What, the oldest ever winner of a Formula One race?
Yeah, I think we might actually have to start talking about Miami and stop going off in a...
Oh, but I could do this for literally hours.
Yes. Right, Miami.
Yes.
I've heard rumours of a thunderstorm, which would be a laugh.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, it's a street circuit as well. It'd be absolute carnage.
Yes, hopefully, nice, safe carnage, but we will see.
Gentle prangs into the barriers so that only 3 drivers finish, but they're all okay.
Yep, I'm actually looking at the BBC page, and it's all about the gossip and hardly any of it.
Yeah, it's all
about what's going to happen in Miami. Because we've got another sprint race, which actually...
Oh.
Actually, I quite enjoyed the sprint race.
Yeah, I still think it's a bit gimmicky, and it doesn't. I think Formula One is such an old, traditional sort of thing. It just doesn't really sort of fit in a way.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they've kept moving it around, and they had one year where they made it part of qualifying for the main race, 2021, I think.
Yeah, there's not been a consistent formula for how it works.
And then they kind of have it on the Saturday. I think all day on the Saturday was probably best, so that Friday and Sunday were the main race and Saturday was its own thing. But
yeah,
even so, yeah, right, it doesn't kind of... I mean, it's an old thing. It's been going for 70 years where playboys would turn up on a Sunday afternoon, with their cars. They'd probably turn up on a Saturday, a weekend on their cars. They turn up on a Saturday, get their cars off the trailers and go around the track and have a jolly good time.
Qualifying was just set a lap, whoever's fastest is first.
Yeah.
You race for 9 points total. We should we should go back to the old point system, I think, instead of extending them. And stop Alonso and Russell getting any points.
Oh, although I have to say, as somebody who saw the original qualifying format, the 3-part qualifying is a massive improvement.
Yeah, actually.
Because you would literally sit there on a Saturday afternoon, you'd be like, 2 o'clock, let's switch the TV on. And then you'd have 40, maybe 45 minutes of just everybody in the pits, just looking at each other, side-eyeing each other, kind of like when 4 cars arrive at a roundabout in the UK at once.
Mm.
And everybody just looks at each other and goes, is he going to go first? Shall I go? And then all of a sudden you'd have maybe 15 or 20 minutes of absolute mayhem where they're all trying to get the clear spot on the track. But it was so dull.
Yeah.
Having this kind of knockout, I thought it was gimmicky at first. But thinking back to when I first started watching Formula One, it's a massive improvement, let's be blunt.
Because it's constant action. And it's kind of quite natural, actually, in a way, because it is still about...
It doesn't feel artificial.
It forces even the best drivers have to get through to Q2, and as we've seen, if they don't, then they're they're in trouble.
Yeah. And, if somebody does drop down to Q1, it's another talking point.
Yeah. But I don't think the sprint kind of fits in the same way. personally.
No, it does. Anyway, we will see. Yes. So yes, I'm going to wrap it up there because we're both a bit tired and we could just keep on gossiping for ages.
Yes.
We'll be back with the Miami sprint qualifying, and race report.
Yes. Oh, hang on a sec. That's this weekend.
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Okay. I'm just checking when I've got exams, because I've got exams coming up.
Okay. Hopefully not at the weekend, but you do need to kind of revise.
No, a little bit.
Yeah, so we will see.
Yes.
We'll see if Mercedes can get a consistent... Although somebody pointed out Mercedes have had nearly 50 races under the new regulations. How come they don't understand their car by now?
I think I remember hearing that about 2021, they fired one of their technical leaders and got a new guy in. And you can pretty much it's like a line on a graph. It's just like, here's where he joined and here's all the performance since, and it's just declined.
It just doesn't.
So maybe
it's almost like they haven't got a consistent strategy. It's like every 3 races they try something new to try and unlock the ability that they think is in the car but isn't.
Yeah, they kind of just been floundering a bit in terms of what to even do. I think they are really missing Lauda a lot.
I think if they'd accepted that they were going to be 7th and 8th and then were trying to achieve that every race and build on it, they'd be better. But I think there's a big part of their mentality that thinks we should be competing with Verstappen, and they keep trying to find the magic source that's going to do that, and it's not there.
Yeah.
Anyway. We will be back after the Miami weekend with lots of action, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Graham Miller. That was Toby Miller.
Yep.
And I will say goodbye. Please like and subscribe and share us to your friends and stuff. And we will talk to you soon.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Bye.